Over the years, so much has happened, not just around the world, but you also have to look at the entertainment aspect, such as sports and even movies and everything else. In this video, I'm going to do a quick recap of the last 10 years, starting from 2016. What happened in 2016? Well, first of all, there was the election of President Trump, and there was also the Summer Olympics, which took place in Brazil. I'm going to quickly transition over to movies that came out this year. Some pretty viewed movies this year would include Batman vs. Superman, Zootopia, Hacksaw Ridge, La La Land, Your Name, Deadpool, Split, Terrifier, Suicide Squad, Captain America Civil War, Doctor Strange, Sing, Train to Busan, Moana, The Conjuring 2, Cloverfield Lane, A Silent Voice, Hush, Finding Dory, and so many more. Let's also check out some sports things that happened this year. Kobe Bryant played his last game in the NBA. The Cubs would win the World Series. Ronaldo's Portugal side would win the Euros in 2016. LeBron would win the NBA championship after beating the Golden State Warriors, and Chile would win the Copa America. There were also some more things that occurred this year. Stranger Things Season 1 would come out. Leonardo DiCaprio would win his first Oscars. The Mannequin Challenge would take over the entire internet. Although every year has its positives, there are some unfortunate tragedies, such as Hurricane Matthew and the nightclub shooting at Orlando. Now let's move on to the next year, which is 2017. Just some of the movies that came out this year would include It, Blade Runner 2049, Get Out, Dunkirk, Coco, The Last Jedi, Spider-Man Homecoming, Jumanji, Logan, Dead Man No Tales, Beauty and the Beast, Thor Ragnarok, John Wick Chapter 2, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Gerald's Game, Paddington 2, War for the Planet of the Apes, Wonder Woman, Justice League, Lego Batman, Kong Skull Island, Cars 3, and a lot more. Now for sports. Russell Westbrook would average a triple-double for the entire season. The Patriots defeated the Falcons. Real Madrid won the Champions League. Manchester United would win the Europa League. The Astros defeated the Dodgers. Conor McGregor would fight with Floyd Mayweather. And the Warriors would defeat the Cavaliers in the NBA Finals. Some big events this year would include the Las Vegas concert shooting, which was very tragic, multiple hurricanes causing mass destruction, and also multiple terrorist attacks. Now let's move on to 2018. Movies released this year would include Black Panther, Into the Spider-Verse, Hereditary, 96, A Quiet Place, Incredibles 2, Creed 2, Avengers Infinity War, and many more. For the sports side this year, the Eagles would win the Super Bowl. France would win the FIFA World Cup in Russia. Tiger Woods would come back and win. The Warriors would win the NBA Finals once again, and Ohtani would make his professional debut. Now for world events. There were many conflicts and wars going on. There was also important movements, and major earthquakes / tsunamis would continue to appear, and California would also experience some wildfires. Now let's move on to the year of 2019. Just some of the many movies released this year would contain Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Rise of Skywalker, Parasite, It Chapter 2, Knives Out, Doctor Sleep, Midsommar, Avengers Endgame, The Joker, Ford vs. Ferrari, The Lighthouse, Us, Toy Story 4, Jojo Rabbit, John Wick Chapter 3, Far From Home, Shazam, Captain Marvel, Hobbs and Shaw, Frozen 2, The Lion King, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and Detective Pikachu. For TV shows, you would have The Witcher, The Boys, Euphoria, The Mandalorian, Demon Slayer, Vinland Saga, and The Promised Neverland. The sports highlights of this year would include Washington winning the World Series, Tiger Woods winning the Masters, the Patriots beating the Rams, Liverpool winning their first Champions League since 2005, the Raptors winning the NBA title, and the US women's side winning the World Cup. Some big news this year would include Donald Trump getting impeached, the fire at the Notre Dame Cathedral, multiple earthquakes in California, and even shootings in New Zealand. The next year would be 2020, and this was during the peak of the COVID era. Due to the pandemic, being able to view movies wasn't really possible anymore. Everything was just very limited. Although the pandemic caused a lot of trouble, some movies were still able to come out. Movies such as Demon Slayer, Mugen Train, Tenet, Sonic, Wonder Woman 1984, The Invisible Man, Soul, Mulan, and Birds of Prey were some of the films released during this year. The sports side would start off very sad with the death of a famous icon, Kobe Bryant. The Dodgers would win the World Series after many years. Liverpool would finally win the Premier League after 30 plus years, and many leagues were also shut down due to the COVID pandemic. The NBA would play in this constrained area known as the bubble, and the Lakers would win the title. Bayern Munich from Germany completed a domestic treble, and we all saw the Kansas City Chiefs win the 2020 Super Bowl. Obviously, when talking about major world events, the COVID-19 pandemic would be at the very top. This pandemic caused lockdowns and everything was changed as a result of this virus. Joe Biden would also beat Donald Trump and there would be more natural disasters. There are also many protests after the death of George Floyd. Now that the COVID-19 virus has somewhat died off, we move over to 2021. Starting with the movies this year, Black Phone, Dune Part 1, No Time to Die, No Way Home, The Suicide Squad, Zack Snyder's Justice League, Eternals, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Sing 2, Mortal Kombat, Godzilla vs. Kong, Jujutsu Kaisen 0, Tick Tick Boom, and Fear Street Part 1 were just some of the films that released this year. For the sports aspect, Tom Brady was able to win the Super Bowl. The Bucks would win the NBA title. The Braves would win the World Series. Lionel Messi would depart from Barcelona. Italy would beat England during penalties at the Euros. And many more iconic sports moments would occur. Now for some well-known events that took place. There would be an attack on the capital. The Taliban would manage to take control over Afghanistan. Texas would ban the majority of abortions. There would be more wildfires in California, and many more events would take place. Let's go ahead and continue to the year of 2022. Movies that would come out this year would be Prey, Top Gun Maverick, Bullet Train X, Pinocchio, Pearl, The Batman, The Way of Water, Barbarian, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Glass Onion, Babylon, Jurassic World Dominion, The Northman, The Whale, Elvis, Nope, Smile, Multiverse of Madness, Scream, Puss in Boots, Love and Thunder, Wakanda Forever, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, Terrifier 2, and Morbius. The sports moments this year would definitely not disappoint. In one of the most exciting games of all time, Argentina would beat France in the 22 World Cup final. The Winter Olympics will take place. Tour de France was talked about. The Rams beat the Bengals in the 2022 Super Bowl. Real Madrid would beat Liverpool in the Champions League final. The Wimbledon would finally return with a full audience after the pandemic. And the Women's Euros tournament would take place in England. For major world events, we saw the death of Queen Elizabeth, Russia invading Ukraine, the assassination of the Prime Minister of Japan, and the overturning of Roe vs. Wade. We're almost reaching the current year, but now let's go over to 2023. Movies that came out this year would include Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Five Nights at Freddy's, The Ballad of Songbird and Snakes, Across the Spider-Verse, Super Mario, Barbie, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, John Wick Chapter 4, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, The Boy and the Heron, Thanksgiving, Scream Part 6, Godzilla Minus One, The Flash, Elemental, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Evil Dead Rise, Rebel Moon, and Cocaine Bear. The sporting side of things this year were also pretty good. Manchester City would dominate Europe by winning the treble. Spain would win the Women's World Cup. Germany would win the Men's Basketball World Cup. Lionel Messi would win his 8th Ballon d'Or. The Nuggets would win the NBA title. Carlos Alcaraz would win Wimbledon, and Australia beat India in the Cricket World Cup final. For major world events, the Turkey-Syria earthquake would cause massive damage. The war between Israel and Hamas was still ongoing. The advancements of artificial intelligence, such as ChatGPT, would rise in fame. Global temperatures would reach very high numbers. The coronation of King Charles and the Titan submersible disaster would see the vessel imploding and killing all 5 people who were on board. It's time for 2024. Movies released this year would include Wicked, Nosferatu, Dune, Part 2, The Fall Guy, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Maxine, Longlegs, Madam Web, Alien Romulus, Abigail, Gladiator 2, The Wild Robot, Furiosa, Terrifier 3, Beetlejuice, Inside Out 2, Transformers 1, Venom The Last Dance, A Quiet Place Day 1, Sonic 3, Smile 2, The Second Joker, and Moana 2. For big sporting moments this year, the Summer Olympics took place. Spain would win the Euros after beating England. The Chiefs would once again win the Super Bowl after beating the 49ers. The Celtics managed to beat the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA Final. Argentina would win another Copa America. Tour de France took place, and Ivory Coast would win the Africa Cup of Nations. For world events, Donald Trump would get re-elected. The Sudanese Civil War was ongoing. Artificial intelligence was still growing even faster. There would be an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. A flood in Poland killed over 300 people. And Hurricane Helene made huge headlines. We have finally made it to the present of 2025. Although the year isn't over yet, it has been around 11 months since it started, and major things could still happen in the upcoming days. Movies released this year would include Frankenstein, One Battle After Another, The Running Man, Predator Badlands, Fantastic Four, Weapons, Black Phone 2, Jurassic World Rebirth, The Long Walk, Superman, Sinners, K-pop Demon Hunters, Tron Ares, Chainsaw Man Arc, F1 the Movie, Wake Up Dead Man, Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. 28 years later, Thunderbolts, Ballerina, and How to Train Your Dragons. For the sporting moments, the Thunder would beat the Pacers in the NBA Finals. The Eagles would win the Super Bowl by beating the Chiefs. Paris Saint-Germain would win the treble. Chelsea would win the first edition of the new Club World Cup. Jannik Sinner would win the Wimbledon by defeating Carlos Alcaraz in the final. The Dodgers won the 2025 World Series. And the India women's side would win their first ever Cricket World Cup title. Now for the major events this year. There was a conflict between India and Pakistan. Charlie Kirk would get assassinated. A flight in India would crash and only leave one survivor out of 242. An 8.8 magnitude earthquake would occur in Russia and cause tsunami warnings, and a federal government shutdown would happen. That was basically my small recap of the last 10 years. I know that I could have added way more information, but the video would be multiple hours long, and I just wanted to make it pretty short. Thank you for watching and subscribe if you want.